Okay, yeah. So I'd like to say a big welcome to all of you and thank you very much for coming to this video conference webinar with Sue Fitzmaurice. I'm sure that you're all quite familiar with her from Facebook. I'm really happy that you're here, and I'm really happy that Sue is here as well, doing a repeat, because you may have heard that the other day we didn't manage to record, but also it's a great opportunity to do it at the weekend so that some different people can come who may have been working during the week. But my name's Sarah McCrum, and I'm an old friend of Sue's. We've known each other for 7 or 8 years now, very good friends. So I'm really happy to be hosting this video conference. And just before we get started, there's a couple of things I'll point out to you. So one is that you can unmute yourself at any time during the video conference if you have a question. And the way to do that is to just click on your picture, and a little box should drop down where you can unmute. There's also a bar at the bottom of the screen which will show up if you hover your mouse near the bottom. And there's a little box on there that says participants. You can also unmute yourself in there, okay? So if you have a question, do feel free to unmute and wait for a moment where it seems appropriate and ask. The other way to ask questions is to write it in the chat box, okay? The chat box opens from that bottom bar as well, and you can write chats in there that everybody will be able to see, okay? I think that's all the practical stuff that you need to know. We do really welcome questions. It's nice to have that interactivity, and so do feel free to use that if you want to. Don't hold back. Okay, and I think we'll start straight in then with Sue. Sue, can you just tell us a little bit, first of all, what is this webinar really all about? Oh, hold on, I think I've muted you as well. That was a mistake. Okay, go ahead.
I can see. Do I need, can I unmute myself?
I've unmuted you.
Oh, okay,
You're
cool. So I guess really what I've found is that this is a topic that lots of people are finding really relevant and important to them right now. It seems to be a thing at the moment for people to want to not just I mean, people are wanting to have meaning in their lives, but this word purpose is being used a lot more. And whether you think as humans we actually have a purpose, or whether you have a purpose, at any rate, somehow people are wanting to find out what it is that they're supposed to be doing with their lives, and they're wanting more meaning in what they're doing. And they're often giving up quite successful careers because they're not finding purpose and meaning in the things that they're doing currently. So it just seems to be a thing that people are exploring. And for me, you know, most of the people, the bigger chunk of people that follow my page in that same age group as me. I think the 45 to 55 age group is the biggest. You know, Facebook gives us these statistics, so I think that's the biggest group. And then the 35 to 45, and probably then the 55 to 65. And it's mostly women. And so it's, and I'm sure for younger and older women and men, it's also really important. But it seems to be especially relevant for that particular age group. And perhaps in large part because we're all reaching a stage where our children have grown, and that's a significant turning point for us. But anyway, so this is really an introduction to a lot of thinking that I've put into this topic, and an introduction, I suppose, also to the 10-day course, which starts on the 1st of May. So yeah, it's just about offering some of my thoughts, and I think, I mean, I've thought about it a lot, and I think they're quite useful thoughts, and I hope that people get something from it.
Okay, could you tell us a bit more about yourself and your story and what's led you to this? Because through Facebook, we probably all think that we know you really well, but it's actually, and probably through some of your blogs, people will know certain parts of your life quite intimately. But that's not necessarily everybody, and in fact through Facebook we often don't know that much about people.
I think Ruby's almost as famous.
Yes.
She's sitting here grinning. So I guess, well, I've had an interesting sort of working career. I've pretty much always worked. I began my working life pretty much as a nurse, so that's a long time ago. I went into the medical industry selling medical equipment. So spent 10 years as a salesperson, managing my own business, other people's businesses. Went back to university in my 30s, finished an undergraduate degree in political science and did an honours year in international relations and international law at the same time that I did a master's in business. And then had a number of CEO roles and worked as a business consultant, management consultant for a few years. Gave all of that up 3 or 4 years ago to write a novel, and then literally began my first Facebook page, which was about 3.5 years ago now. Is it that long? 2.5 years ago. I can't remember. Began my first Facebook page, which is not the one I currently have, really as a means to creating an audience for my book, but it ended up taking on a life of its own, and subsequently it grew and I grew through this sort of need I was finding to express things, and this following that seemed to have expectations. I don't know. There was, maybe that's the wrong word. I found that there were certain things that I would say that would hit the nail on the head for people, and I'd get lots of feedback about that. And especially in this last 6 months, I found it incredibly interesting what it is that's really gelling for people and the things that people are wanting to hear. And so it's become more and more about purpose. And in terms of talking about purpose, I've always talked a lot about that with people. I'm very nosy about people's business when it comes to their careers and the things that they want to do. So when I first meet people, I ask them lots of questions, and I'm always talking to them about what they're wanting to achieve. And I'm really interested in that, in people. And I guess also because I've had a fairly good sort of solid academic career, I'm quite organised in my thoughts, and I can write things quite well, and so all of that sort of has come together into my purpose right now, being to talk about purpose. And now I can't remember what your question was, Sarah, but anyway, that must have answered it somewhere.
You definitely answered it, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it is really true. She is quite nosy, and so when you meet she asks you like a bombardment of questions all about you and everything about you, really, to get to know you. That's one of her big skills, I think, is to find out a lot about people very quickly. But I guess that feeds in because you do connect with a lot of people. So all of that feeds into your thinking. So it's not just your own thinking or your own reading, but it's very much connected with people and where they're at, which is so different from traditional, more academic approaches.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, do you want to talk about the 9 aspects of purpose then?
Sure. Okay, so this is sort of this is part of how this has come together in recent months. Has to be is 2 things really. One is what is purpose and what it's about, and the other one, which is really where I go in the course, which is about what are the ways in which you can, what are some of the things that you can do to uncover your purpose. So the first and most important feature of purpose, or aspect of purpose, is that I believe you do have one. And for me, my understanding of that has come through many years of decades, probably, of thinking about things like purpose from a spiritual perspective, and I do consider it a spiritual need, by which I don't mean religious in any way, although for many people their religious background will give meaning also to the need to have purpose and to find out what their purpose is. But I mean spiritual in a more, in a sense, not unlike Maslow's hierarchy of needs, at which the apex is self-actualization. So we have this need to have purpose and meaning in our lives. And it's more than just an emotional or mental need. And so it's best to describe it, I think, in spiritual terms. So we do have one, and it doesn't really matter from what basis you come to that understanding of having a purpose. Everybody's understanding of their spirituality is different. Everybody's understanding of God, the universe, energy, whatever terminology you apply to that thing that is bigger than us, that is some kind of animating force beneath everything. Whatever terminology and words you use, it doesn't really matter what that basis is, because in the end it kind of becomes academic. The reality is that when we have a purpose and we're living our purpose, our lives are, we're happier, we're nicer to be around, I think, and you're making a difference as well, which I think is also an important part, and I'll get to that also. So, we're quite, our language is quite inadequate in many ways to describe spiritual, the aspects of spirituality, like, for example, God. And I think that's one of the reasons why we get ourselves into so much trouble, disagreeing with each other about our spiritual and religious beliefs, is because our language is really inadequate to describe it. So in the end, that doesn't matter. You do have a purpose. It makes you happier, and it makes you a better person to have a purpose and to be living a purpose. So that's the first most important thing. Anyone got any questions about that?
If you have a question, unmute yourself. Nancy, did you have a question, or do you just happen to be unmuted? She's muted herself, so I think that was not a question. I don't see any questions in the chat, so let's go ahead, Sue.
Okay, so the second aspect to oh, you've disappeared, Sarah.
I'm still here.
That's right. Okay. Something changed.
Somebody else joined the session, that's all.
Oh, right. Oh, wonderful. So the second thing, or the first thing for the person who just joined, is that you do have a purpose. The second thing is that there's one of the major aspects to purpose is a very unchanging aspect, and which is, and this is the part of purpose that I believe we all have in common, which is, and again, a little bit, our language is a little bit inadequate to describe this, but one of the ways that I refer to this is that we have a requirement as human beings to develop human virtue, for want of a better way. Some people may refer to this as to know and love God, as a way that people who have a belief in God may describe that. So to develop human virtue, which is to develop courage, love, forgiveness, the many virtues that we have, a requirement to develop as humans. And we all have different virtues that we excel at, and different virtues for which we have a greater need to develop. So I've got loads of courage. It's never been a failing of mine. So, I've changed direction quite a lot of times and taken quite a lot of risks to do that. It's not often something that most people do. Most people lack courage. A lot of people need to learn to forgive. Almost everybody, actually, I meet needs to learn to forgive, and to forgive better. Certainly I've needed to do that. One of the things I've needed to learn to do is not judge so much. I've been horribly judgmental, which Sarah says, she's smiling, she knows me well. She's told me about this problem. And all of those things, in order to develop all of those human virtues, they actually also do require courage. So courage is a big one. It's actually just trying to remember this amazing quote. I think it's from Maya Angelou about the most important virtue to develop is courage, because it allows you to have the courage to develop those other ones and to confront the weaknesses that you have. So this is part of our purpose as humanity, this unchanging aspect of purpose that we all share, which is to develop human virtues. Any questions about that, or shall I leap on to number 3?
I would keep going. I don't see anyone unmuted. And when you've gone through if someone has an urgent question, just let us know, make a noise or something. But otherwise, we'll take questions at the end of the aspects.
Okay. So the third part is the unchanging part of purpose. And this is the part... What did I say? Did I say unchanging? The changing. I mean the changing part. The third part is the changing part, which is unique to you. And you will find, most people will find that their purpose changes at different points in their life. One common thing that most of us are parents, and for women especially, I often think, maybe I'm wrong to think this, but I do often think this just a little bit more than with men. We do have some particularly great purpose to become mothers. But even some women who are mothers, it's not necessarily a particular part of their purpose, just the same. But for many of us, being a parent is a very significant part of our purpose. And so therefore, we often will have something else that we're doing before that, and then we often get to a point where around middle age where we want to go on to do something else. Because our children have grown, of course we remain parents for all of our lives and their lives, but it can change a great deal. And I've noticed, as I said earlier on, that this is a really big deal for women for whom parenting has been a significant part of their life. Maybe it's been their whole life being a parent, and so they reach this point in their 40s, perhaps, where they're looking for something new, not something more. It's just that it changes, and so so this can happen several times, that we can have this change in purpose. And I guess there are some wonderful opportunities now, and Sarah and I have both shared this experience to connect with practitioners of different types who are able to give you some feedback from a more spiritual basis as to what your particular purpose is. So there are a lot of people who are able to make certain connections and give us some feedback on that, which can be really useful if that's the kind of thing that you like to bring into your learning. The fourth part of purpose, which I think is very important, is that you must make a contribution or make a difference with your purpose. So, and that's an extraordinarily tall order, because basically what it means is that you need to give more than you take. The sum total of what you give in your life needs to be more than what you get from your life. And that's, when you think about it, it's massive. Some people are born with a bucket full of making a contribution, a kind of energy, the sort of Mother Teresa's and Martin Luther King's and Gandhi's and so on. And there are others, perhaps, your contribution is not necessarily so great, but you're still required to make it. So to make a contribution, it doesn't mean that you have to, feed starving millions or, dig latrines in Africa or give up everything you're doing and go on a missionary zeal. It can be about your parenting. Certainly it's one of our most significant contributions that we make, is to bring up good young citizens. And we leave the world better for that, for sure. So your purpose must be something where you're making a contribution and leaving the world a better place, making a difference. The fifth part of your purpose, the fifth aspect, is that you are required to assist others with their purpose. And so this is about similar to making a difference. It's about being the change, being the example. As parents, of course, we're assisting our children with helping them to find their purpose. And that's, I think that's really, really difficult. For a start, I don't think the generality of school systems in the world, apart from the alternative school systems, I don't think they really help our children to find out what their purpose is. And of course, as parents, many parents are very, very directive with their children about what it is that they're to do with their lives. My 18-year-old son wants to be a stand-up comedian. Certainly school made no contribution to helping him figure that out. And my daughter is wanting to be an artist and a mother. And school's probably helping her a little bit with being an artist. But, you know, as we found last year when she took the year off school and we travelled, she said that her creativity was far greater not being at school, which is interesting, isn't it? So it's a really difficult challenge as a parent to assist your children to find their purpose, because a lot of it involves letting go. And that's a really, really difficult thing for us, because we're wanting them to have successful futures and we have ideas about what we think that should look like. And to assist others. So if you're in a situation where you're an employer, for example, or you're in any kind of any of the sort of helping or coaching professions, then you have a great opportunity to help others with finding their purpose too. And of course, that aspect of assisting others with their purpose will be larger or smaller depending on what it is that you do. So obviously for me, it's become quite a big deal. For Sarah, I know also it's a big part of what she does, and other friends of ours who work in these kinds of roles. It's extremely fulfilling to be able to assist other people with their direction. It's very exciting, actually. Number 6. Are we keeping up? Up to number 6.
You're doing a great job.
Okay. Number 6 is that there will be obstacles. There's always obstacles to finding your purpose. One of the most significant ones is that you don't know what your purpose is. That's a fairly significant obstacle to living your purpose, is not to know what it is. There's other commitments that we have that prevent us from doing the things that we would like to do. Our family commitments. You might want to take a year off to write the great New Zealand novel. It's a bit of a New Zealand thing to write. To everyone in New Zealand thinks they have a book in them. Those are huge commitments. Ill health and disability. At the end of the day, the reality is that very few of those things are actually the obstacles that we think they are. And there's a lot of fear around wanting to make significant change. Someone posted an article in my group on Facebook this morning about the fear of what other people think, especially if we're going off to do something that's a bit weird. Our family will think we've gone nuts. They'll be concerned, particularly if we're doing that when we've got other responsibilities like children, and they'll try and convince us, that that's not the thing that we ought to be doing. So there can be a great deal of, there can be a great many obstacles along the way. Number 7 is that obstacles are lessons. Some people like to think of it, they use more the terminology of tests, particularly if you have a particular type of religious or spiritual view. You'll see that you might you might express that with the idea that you're being tested along the way. I suppose it's the same kind of terminology. I don't like it quite so much because I don't think we're tested to determine our resolve so much. I think that every obstacle presents us with something to learn, and that all of life is a lesson that we're here to learn. And so the obstacles, whatever they are opportunities for us to learn something new about ourselves. And there are a myriad things that we can learn potentially from each obstacle. So we can't get too hung up also on thinking, well, what is it that I'm supposed to learn from this? Because it's not always obvious, but it will eventually come to you if you stay open to the idea that there is something to learn, and that you will need to change something about yourself. And that's the biggest thing, is that we all need to change things about ourselves. And it's quite scary. And we don't like to admit to our weaknesses, or that, for example, the thing about taking a year off from work to write a book. We will rationalise till we're blue in the face that we can't afford to do that. And I would challenge everybody on that one, because I think that you can, but you just have to work out how to do it. But if that's one of the key ones, is that people will say, well, I can't do it because I can't afford to do it, or I can't do it because I've got children, or I can't do it because I'm disabled, or, all of these, they're like big things. They are very big, those things, but they are not to be used as excuses. And that's pretty scary. So obstacles are lessons. Number 8, what your purpose is will be something that you're passionate about, something that you love doing. It will be the thing that feeds you, in the sense that it gives you positive energy, as opposed to the thing that you may think you like doing that actually sucks energy out of you. So, for example, for many years I worked in senior management, and I totally loved it because it totally fed my ego on a whole number of different levels. I had status, I had money, I had authority, I had all kinds of great things, but it completely drained me and burnt me out. So whilst I thought it was what I was supposed to be doing because I was good at it and it felt good, and a whole bunch of different things, ticked lots of boxes, it absolutely sucked me dry, and just about, probably, I don't know if it did, I couldn't say it just about killed me, but it felt like it at times. But the thing that really gives me energy is to do this kind of thing that I'm doing right now. Not only doesn't actually feed my ego at all. When I stop and think, oh, I'm talking to 120,000 people on my Facebook page, aren't I amazing? I don't think that at all. And people give me that kind of feedback, and it doesn't feed my ego in that way. But I get a buzz from talking about something that I'm passionate about, and knowing that there's people who are listening and taking that in. And it feels good in a whole different way. So the thing that is purposeful for you, the thing that you're supposed to be doing, is the thing that feeds you positively, which means, I suppose, that it's feeding your heart and soul, not sucking your emotions, not sucking your physical energy, and so on. Okay, there are always things that we have to do that do take some of that out of us. You have to do the stuff you have to do. Like, I have to deal with technology, and I really don't like it. And I get quite freaked out, as Sarah will tell you, when she says, no, you've got to write a thing on your web thing that does, and I'm like, no, okay, you have to do it for me, because it doesn't work for me. Yeah. So you have to do the things that you have to do. There will always be things that will take a bit of energy from you that you don't like. But overall, the thing that you're supposed to be doing is the thing that you love, that you're passionate about, that feeds you really good, solid soul energy, good positive stuff. And that gives you the opportunity to grow as well. And the last thing, I can't believe there's no questions. I think people are writing things down. I see these heads bobbing. Are there any questions?
I can't see any questions written down. There will be, Sue.
There
Let's
will be. Okay, I'll just get to the last one.
One more aspect, and then we can open up for questions.
Okay, I'll do the last one, and then we'll do a quick review, so everyone knows that they've got 9 things written down. The other day, someone had 8, and they were freaking out because they'd missed one somewhere along the way. So the last thing, and this is the really magical little bit. I love this bit. This is very cool. Once you decide that you want to live a life of purpose, then you are living a life of purpose. So, you know, this thing that people are afraid of, you know, and they get so hung up on not knowing what their purpose is, they get depressed, they get anxious, and they get so frustrated because they're stuck in doing something else that they don't like, that's not giving them the energy they want, but they want to be doing the thing that is their purpose. Once you've made that decision to look for it and to work towards it, then you are living a life of purpose. You're already doing it. So the important thing, knowing that, is don't get frustrated if you're not there yet. Don't get anxious and depressed because you feel like your life doesn't have meaning now. The reality is that for all of us, we have to take steps along the way to get to the thing that we want. So, for example, if the thing that you want does require you to not be working in your current job, say, then you have to spend time working up another alternative way to live financially, because we all do need to live financially. We all need a roof over our heads and food on the table and so on. You have to spend time to work out how that's going to work, and that will take time. So that will mean that for a period of time you might still be having to do the job that you're doing now that you may not like so much. Or eventually it might mean that you get to cut that down to just working 20 hours a week in that job, but you still have to do it because you have to put food on the table or whatever. So the thing is, if you start to put a lot of frustration and depression and anxiety in the way, then you're not going to uncover that thing, or you're not going to make progress towards that thing. So it's not just about telling yourself that you are living that life of purpose. You are, because you've still got all of those other aspects to purpose. So there's that unchanging aspect of developing human virtue. And it may also be the case that in order to do this other thing that you may have figured out what it is, you may have to develop a whole lot of other virtues in order to be effective at that. And so don't discount this importance of acquiring human virtue to finding your way towards that next stage of living the purpose that you want to live. Okay, so you must meet the challenges of the obstacles. You must give consideration to what are the human virtues that you need to acquire, or the ones that you need to reverse because you're very judgmental, for example, and you need to be more forgiving and more loving. So, yeah, if you once you have made the decision that that's what you want, that you want to live a life of purpose, then you are now living a life of purpose. So all of those 9 things are really, really important to living a life of purpose. And you may not have found that thing yet, that one thing that you're passionate about, or you may know what it is, but you haven't got to it yet. But there are all those other things that are important parts to getting there, and you can't discount them. You can't go, oh, yeah, that's important, but I've got to find that one thing. So it all goes together. Okay?
Cool. Thank you very much, Sue. Do you want to just run through just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, just to make sure that it's like a clear list? Because it's always good to take a few notes about these things.
Yes, indeed. So the first thing, you do have a purpose. The second is there is this unchanging aspect that is to acquire human virtue. The third, no, that's the unchanging. Don't confuse me. Ruby's back chatting here. The third thing is there is the changing part, which is uniquely yours. The fourth is that you are required to make a difference, make a contribution, and that's part of your purpose. You are also required to assist others with their purpose. That was number 5. Number 6, there will be obstacles. Did you get that? 4 was make a difference. 5 was assist others with their purpose. 6, there will be obstacles. 7, obstacles are lessons. 8, the thing that is your purpose is the thing that you're most passionate about and that feeds you positive energy. And number 9, once you decide to live a life of purpose, you are living a life of purpose. I love that part. It's just magic, that part.
That's okay, cool. Thank you. I'm just going to open it up so that I can see everybody else. Okay, does anybody there have any questions you can ask about yourself, your own personal questions, or ask questions more about purpose and the general principles of it? Either write something in the chat box, which you can open up from the bar at the bottom, or just click on your picture and a little box will drop down and you can unmute yourself. And I should be able to...
Don't be shy.
Hopefully.
I think just about everybody needs to tilt their cameras slightly down because I see lots of tops of heads.
Maybe it's deliberate. Sometimes people don't like to.
Come on, Di Boone must have a question.
Okay. Well, anybody there? Or wave frantically if your picture is on and you don't know how to unmute yourself. Well, I have one question, Sue, that I'm curious about, actually. All the time I was listening to you, I was just thinking, what do you, when you say the word purpose, what does that mean to you?
I just spent half an hour telling you, Sarah.
No, you told me the different aspects of purpose, but then I was just asking myself, so what...
Right.
The reason I ask it, because there's a really simple thing. One thing I've noticed is that, and I see this with clients, is people often say they're looking for their purpose when actually they're really looking for a job. They're looking for some work. And that is not, and I know that because when they get a job, they stop looking for their purpose and they get on with the job. So they're either looking for something to do or for some money. But I feel that what you're talking about is something much more than that.
Yeah, so it's not something that's just meeting a financial end or a social expectation. It's a thing that gives you meaning, where you're able to make a contribution that is fulfilling for you, and it has a spiritual level to it. So it's not physical or mental or emotional. It's a much deeper need. Is that enough to answer that question?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was just curious about that.
Oh, Swati's been listening. She's just gone.
Okay.
How to figure out what is my purpose, from Martha.
Okay, and that is, of course, the number one question.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. If you do the course, you'll get a lot of information about that, and I think Sarah's going to talk about that more. I'll give you a couple of practical things that I think, and these are the things that I've done all my life, and they're kind of the same. One is to just be open to possibilities. So, you have to basically, as I've always said this for many, many years, put it out into the universe. If one of my kids wants something, put it out there, put it out into the universe, just express that this is what you want, and then be open to what might come your way. Because, 9 times out of 10, what comes back doesn't look exactly the same as what we thought we were asking for. And that's a really important thing to keep in your mind. So you need to be open to what comes. And the other thing that I always used to say a lot was open every door that is available to you to open. And then one of them will beckon, a lot more than the others will. And that's often a good thing too. But that also has to do with being open to the possibilities. There's a poster I had on my page a while ago that's always, I can't remember how it goes. It's a bit like I can't remember what it is. It's something to do with the expectations about the gifts that you receive. If it doesn't look the way you thought it did, it might still be a gift. Can't remember how it goes. But yes, being open.
Okay, I think that would be a good chance for me to talk a little bit about Sue's course, which is a 10-day online course to help you actually discover your own personal, unique purpose. Okay. So I don't know why you decided to come to this webinar, but I'm guessing that most people who are attracted to this kind of topic, it's either because you are looking to become clear about your own purpose, or you have a sense that there's something missing and there could be more to life, and that maybe finding your purpose would be that. And so Sue put together a course to help you with exactly that. And it's online, so you can do it at home, you can do it in your own time. But in Sue fashion, it's also on Facebook, so to speak. So there's a Facebook group, and you are part of that Facebook group, so you can communicate with Sue and get help. And also, often more important even, is communicating with the other people in the group, because everybody contributes to your own particular journey in that way. And what I'm going to do actually is I'm going to share my screen and show you where you can find that particular thing. I just need to find it myself. Hold on a second. So if you go to SueFitzmaurice.com,
you put S-I-E. You've spelt my name wrong.
Oh,
S-I-E. Go back.
That's my standard of typing. SueFitzmaurice.com, purpose, there it is. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Just wait for it to arrive. There we are. Okay, so living a life of purpose. And basically what this course does, it sends you an email each day for 10 days, and that email will give you a link to a web page. And on the web page, there will be various materials from Sue, videos and some written stuff and links to other articles, and often links to other people's input as well as her own. So she's gone out and found out what other people are doing, and she's sharing that with you as well. And each day has a different topic, and the shape of the course is designed to lead you through the process so that by the time you end it, you are clear about what your purpose is. And one of the things I can say, because I've actually worked with some of the same people who sometimes after they've done Sue's course, they come and work with me to get rid of some of the obstacles and things. And what I know is that those people who have done the course have literally in that 10 days gone from being often very unclear and maybe even quite depressed or worried about the fact that they didn't feel connected with their purpose, to becoming really clear what it is, who they are and what they want, and then they're in a position to actually get on and do something about it, take whatever steps need to be taken in order to fulfill that purpose. And I think what's really important about that is that you can spend years, literally years, looking for your purpose, or you can spend 10 days figuring it out. And in many ways, it's not so important to spend the years like trying to get it absolutely perfect. What's more important is that you do something, get something together, get started, because once you're started on it, what you'll discover is that purpose is something that's very alive. It's not like you've got the plan, you've got the vision board, and now you go out and do it for the rest of your life. It just doesn't work like that. It's something that's constantly unfolding and developing and being refined and being added to and bits being taken away. So for me, the real value of this course is that it's 10 days, it's not 10 years, and that in that 10-day period, you get enough so that you can just get moving. And it's the movement then that will help you to clarify the finer details. And that's something that you will go on doing for the rest of your life. There will never be a point where you just have your purpose and now you're going to do it. The doing and the developing are all part and parcel of the same thing. So yeah, that's the course, which yeah, I really recommend to people to do. It costs $47. It's worth, in my opinion, a great deal more than that. If you think about it, spending even a year or two not being very clear and therefore not taking action, I don't think the real cost of that is even the time it's taking you before you kind of get on with what you're doing. The real cost is the confusion and the emotional confusion that tends to go with not knowing your purpose. So for me, if you can spend $47 and get clear about that and be able to take action, you are giving yourself so much. You're just giving yourself so much. And you don't gain anything in particular by just waiting. Sometimes people have this thing like, I have to do it all myself. Well, Sue is actually helping you to do it all yourself, but she's helping you to do it all yourself rather quickly, rather than very slowly. And you're going to continue doing it yourself because it's your life and nobody can ever do that for you. But to just have that clarity about the steps that you need to take and the concentration of action of doing it over 10 days rather than over a long time, that will make an enormous difference to you. So if you'd like to sign up for that course, you just go to that page, suefitzmaurice.com/purpose, and you just click down here, add to cart. And what will happen is you'll receive an email telling you that the course will start on the 1st of May. And on the 1st of May, you will then start receiving your 10 days of emails with all the instructions that you need. And you'll be invited to join the Facebook group, which is usually pretty lively. And the course will just happen like that. You do it in your own time. So each day it's like you get your instructions for the next 24 hours. I would say you need to be prepared to give about half an hour a day. If you're the kind of person who likes to do a lot more, you can think about it all day long and you can write and do whatever you like to do with it. But you should be preparing to make a commitment of a minimum of half an hour a day to really get the value out of it. Because this is one of the biggest decisions you're ever going to make in your life. It is probably bigger than the decision of who to marry. Seriously. And yeah. And if you think how much effort you put into getting married, I think, half an hour a day for 10 days or even more than that is pretty small.
When you put it like that, I definitely should have charged more.
Well, I'm always trying to persuade you. So get it as a snip, because if I'm successful in my persuasion of Sue, she's going to put the price up one of these days. But she hasn't listened to me yet. So there you are. You can get it now. So I will send that link out after the webinar as well, so that you'll get it in your email in case you haven't got it right now. And I think the only thing really left is to ask if you have any questions about that or anything else that Sue's talked about. You can also send questions by email. Yeah, so if you want to ask a question, just write it in the chat box. Just wave your mouse over the bottom of your screen and you'll see a little thing that says chat. Click on it and a box will open up and you can write in the box. Sue, was there anything you wanted to add to what I said?
No, that's wonderful. Thank you. Yeah.
Okay. Well, it looks like we've explained everything, Sue. We've got purpose into 47 minutes.
I know. I'm impressed. We've got very efficient second time around.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, if there's nothing else, then I'd like to say thank you to everybody for showing up. It's great that you made the time, because this is making time for yourself. And you are the number one person in your life who will make time for yourself. So I think that's a great thing that you've done that. And thank you very much to Sue for coming and sharing your experience with everybody. And I hope that we'll see a number of you on that course, because I'm also in there. I have a little section in there. So I hope to see you very soon. And thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks for spending some of your weekend with me, everyone. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.